Hello, hello, hello. Oh, hello. Hello, hello. Smoothie, iced coffee, all kinds of stuff I got on the go. Can you guys hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear my voice. And Feel Button says, happy Sunday. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. We got Ben Coombs here. I got headphones on today. That's for a reason I'll tell you about in a minute. But yeah, give me the heads up. Sounds good, says Nick. So you can hear the guitar? Can you hear that okay? Ryan Hall says, yes. If it's all working, I'll be so happy. Loud and clear. Sweet. Sweet. It should be in stereo, and you should hear me clear as a bell. With some distorted raw goodness. Excellent. So what's going on today? I'll tell you. There was a little mix-up. I got sent a pedal to make a video of, which is this Catalinbread Dirty Little Secret Deluxe. But it got kind of routed weird, and it didn't show up in time, actually, for the release of the pedal. And then it was rerouted to me, and it's a long story. But I got busy doing other videos and all kinds of stuff, and I was like, okay, I need to make this video happen. What can I do? And then I thought, I know. Let's do a live demo of it on Sunday Live, and then I'll give it away. Little contest. So I'll tell you how we're going to do that in a minute. But I'm going to play through it first a little bit, and you guys will see basically my process of what happens when I get a pedal. Is it process or process? I was thinking about this the other day. I was driving in my car and I was like, is it process or process? My process. I say both, depending. I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to play through it and just tweak and try and get sounds and stuff like that that I dig. And you guys will see how I do that, essentially. Because I've just discovered some things like 5 minutes before going live. Late. Sorry, I'm late. And, yeah. So, one of the things I noticed about it is that it's real raw and plexi sounding, and it's got a pretty ample bottom end. Which is pretty cool for like that true, like 67 super lead sort of thing, right? Kind of raw sounding. Because supposedly they've gone through and modeled all the like phase inverter and preamp, power amp, like all the stages and everything in the pedal of the real deal. But they've also given it a lot of versatility so that you can boost and do different things and also tweak the tone. So when I discovered it was a lot of bass, even when turning the bass down on it, I thought there's still a lot of bass, and I can't quite get a tight kind of like 80s thing out of it a little bit more. And I looked online, of course, read the manual. Once I read the manual, I discovered that there's actually some controls on the inside that let you tune the tightness and the kind of stuff that I was hearing out of the pedal that maybe I just want to dial in a little bit. Ian's asking about my routing setup. So I'm literally just plugged guitar right into the pedal and straight into my PT15 IR on the clean channel. And I'm running the clean on kind of a neutral without the pedal. Very just kind of clean channel. That's my setting right now. So if you want to hear the amp, here's the amp on the dirty. Just for reference, that's a little amp distortion. Back to a clean channel set clean. Okay. So big fat, 60s, 70s Marshall sounding, I think, right? So, all right. So let's look through some of the controls here. So you got a master and a preamp. So that's obviously like overall volume, and then the preamp volume, kind of like you would see on a 70s or 80s Marshall. Presence, treble, middle, bass. Full tone stack there, and then you got a switch here to go from a kind of a super lead to super bass setting. That's super bass. It sounds quite dark and woolly to me right now, but check out when I start tweaking things. So then you've got a boost here. The boost can be before or after the amp, so you can get a volume boost, which is the way it's shipped to me, with a volume boost. So if I hit this, I'm getting a super loud volume boost there if I turn it up 3/4 of the way up. So I was like, oh, the boost is after the amp. That's interesting. But on the inside, you can reroute it to actually come before the amp circuit. Okay, so I'm going to show you what that stuff is now on the back here. Right here, you get a two-way switch. I took the back off already, obviously. It doesn't ship like this. So you get a two-way switch to reroute. And so I'm going to do that right now. Flip that, and that's going to reroute the boost to come in front of the circuit. And then there's this control here that allows me... Isn't my pedal vise handy? I'll lock the pedal in there, and we'll look at the back. Anybody remember the $6 Million Man? It looks like the Fembot when the face came off. You know what I'm talking about? How old are you? Anybody from the 70s? Okay. Here's the low end. Now, if I turn up this is going to cut low end. Hear it get tighter? That's pretty cool. So if I turn it down, now it's all the fat. Now, Scott Brockway said the fembots used to freak me out. Me too. I'm glad it's not just you, because I hated it. It something that did it just no face and all this. Oh God, it was like a horror show when you were 6 years old or whatever. You know, I didn't like that. I had bad dreams about it, I think. Okay, now every time you see a circuit board, you're gonna think of that. Sorry, Scott. Didn't mean to bring up. It's post-traumatic stress disorder is what it is. All right. Okay, so I've turned the low end tightness thing up a little bit, and now we're going to tweak the sound a little bit. Let me turn down the presence a little bit. Let's bring up the preamp a little bit, turn down the master a little. It's pretty raw sounding. It's like got a real raw Marshall, you know, like gnarly raw. Now I've switched the order of the boost, so now this is now going to be coming in front, and they say this is to be built more like a JCM 900 kind of circuit. Pretty beefy sounding still, so I'm gonna take it out of my vise here, and I'm gonna turn up that low cut way more and see what happens. This is interesting because it's almost like doing little amp mods on the fly, because it's kind of an amp circuit. So like when you're cutting low end in the preamp, that's what you do when you tune the preamp of an amp when you're trying to voice it, and you cut the coupling caps in between the tube stages and stuff. You can dump low end, and you know, the more low end that you dump, the tighter the sound gets, and you get a little bit more of that 80s distortion, but it'll also kind of thin out single notes. So it's always a fine line, like you know, you just have to be careful. So all right, let's see here. Treble a little bit. It sort of seems to respond like a real JMP, like when you raise the volume, I hear the sound changing. Like, in other words, this doesn't seem to be just a volume. It seems to be like a true master volume on a JMP would be, where you bring it up and it's like the sound kind of goes woo wah. Hear the EQ change, like when I bring up the volume? It's interesting. It's kind of interesting. It's like, what if I turn the master all the way up and bring the preamp down? Kind of like that. Bring the presence up. there's gonna be a jailbreak somewhere in this town. Oh, sorry. I got excited. More coffee. More coffee. Hey, you good-looking female. Come over here. Sorry. I love Phil. This is the best pedal review ever, says Jimmy. I'm glad you like it. I thought this would be fun. I've wanted to do this for a while, actually. And, you know, seems like a fun idea, right? Just let it ride. Do more live pedal reviews. So, here's the deal. I'm going to give away this pedal. Let's make sure I've got the right email, because I just made a fresh email last night. I'm going to randomly select a winner of this pedal. So this is a fresh email that I made just for this purpose. And you're all going to send me an email, and I'm going to literally just pick one. Could be the first one, the last one, the second to last, the second to first. I don't know. I'm just going to I think what I'll do is just close my eyes and have the thing open and then click the mouse. You know what I mean? And see where it lands. And that's who's going to get one. So I am looking for the email that I made last night. So it's going to be Pete Pedal Giveaway at yahoo.com. P-E-T-E, pedal, P-E-D-A-L, giveaway, G-I-V-E-A-W-A-Y. Pete Pedal Giveaway at yahoo.com. Just send me an email and say, I hope I win, or something. I don't know, whatever you want. And then I'm going to randomly select an email, and then I'll hit you back if you're the winner. And we will send it off to you next week. That's what's going to happen. So, fine, I'll take it, says Joe. How do we apply, says Arshawn. That's it. So, Pete Pedal Giveaway at yahoo.com. Send me an email. Random selection. No favorites, no nothing. I might have somebody else do it. You know, maybe I'll have Britt do it or something like that. Or I'll have somebody do it. Select it, and yeah, and don't spam me. That's right. It's a fresh email, for God's sakes. Yeah, and only one email, because I can tell if you sent a bunch. We'll be able to see that, right, Vincent? This is just for you guys. There's 234 people on the line, so I expect to get 234 emails. Christian's in first. He says sent. Yeah. So this is in conjunction, by the way, with my friends at Catalinbread and Sweetwater. So my nice friends at Sweetwater, they asked me to do this video originally, and then I came up with a unique idea. I said, why don't you send it to me and I'll make a video for it, and then we'll give it away. Everybody wins. Right? Fantastic. Alrighty. Well, let's talk about some other stuff. What have you guys been doing this week? What's happening? Somebody give me some. Ben Coombs is here. He's going to be live tonight. He's got his own show. He's my trusty moderator. Can you run this into something like a Fryette PS2? Sure. I'm actually running through my PS2 right now, because I always am. On the way to. So I could actually try that, but I don't think I'm going to, because I'll have to get behind there and it'll be embarrassing, because I'll be trying to find the line in and stuff. But yeah, you could do that. You could totally do that. Another feature I read about it. It's actually got a line out. So yeah, actually, it would be perfect to plug into the line input on a Fryette PS2, because it has right here. Funny, I'm glad you asked that question. It's got a line out. So, in other words, this is a plus 10 line output, I think. So it's got way more output than the other one that's meant to be plugged into a guitar amp. So, watch how much louder this gets, I think. I'm nailing the front end of the amp now. So, that's meant to be plugged into like a line input on a recording interface, or, you know, if you want to run it right into a mixer or something, I guess you could do that. And might sound cool like that. Should we try it? I think I can do that. Relatively simple. Let's try that. That's easy. Let's try running the line output. It might not sound as good as running into an amp, but we can try. Go right into input 1. Patch bay. Oh yeah, there's no speaker sim, of course. So let's add a little speaker simulation to the sound. Ooh, this is fun. I can do this easily with my PT100 plug-in. Live stuff. This is how you guys are kind of helping me here, but like a demo on the fly that you guys are helping me with. Like, what would I do? Oh, I could do this. I'll turn off the bypass power amp, bypass preamp. And we should have a speaker simulated sound. Sure enough, there we go. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm running through the PT100 plugin from Universal Audio, but I'm disabled the amp sim, so the only thing active is the impulse responses. So it's pedal straight into my UA recording interface with a plugin in line for speaker simulation. That actually sounds pretty cool, like that. Let's try and tweak it a little bit. Turn up the treble a bit, the presence a bit more clarity. I kind of like that, actually. That's pretty woolly there, but so that's pedal direct. It'd be, you know, something akin to running it right into. Ooh, I do have the volume totally cranked. Let me turn that down a little. This would be kind of like the sound you would get if you ran it right into a power amp, you know, and then into a full range cabinet with an IR. Could maybe use like an EQ or something in line to tweak it. Direct. There we go. All right. Let's see. So once again, Pete Pedal giveaway at yahoo.com. Send me an email. Somebody's going to get randomly selected. Randomly selected. Yeah. Arshawn says sent. That's the shortest email I've ever done. Yeah. Uh-oh. Jay says he cracked his big toenail in half. That was fun. That's not good. I would probably go to the urgent care for that. I don't know what I would. What are you going to do? You know when you go to like the doctor and you're like this is futile. I know I'm going to go there and they're going to give me some. They're going to say put some Robitussin on it and send you home and charge you $60 for the visit. If you're lucky, 60, maybe more like 120. You have a bunch of guitars back there. What's going on with these guitars? Well, I'm getting ready for tour rehearsals. Actually, I'm going on tour with Nick Carter in. Coming up, man. A couple weeks. So rehearsals are starting. And we are going to rock. Yeah. It's a fun set. We're doing all kinds of fun stuff in that set. I'm not going to give it away, but we are. So, will you be doing any videos of the new Karma ODR10? It's a clone of Tim Pierce's ODR1. I don't know anything about that pedal. Nothing yet. Excuse me. Burping. This is cool, says Chris. It's fun. I like this, actually. Yeah, a little more interactive. You guys can ask me things, and I can do them on the fly. So it is cool. I'll do more of these. You know, I like the format, and you know, I'm a Sweetwater affiliate, so it's like I'll put the link to the pedal anyway in the video description below and stuff. But I like doing this kind of stuff with them. It's like, you know, do a little. It's sponsored, but you know, whenever I'm giving it away, for God's sakes. Yep. Okay. What else are you guys talking about in the chat? Let's talk about some other stuff. What happened this week? I put out 3 amplifier videos this week. Did you guys watch the one for the Royalist? That was really fun. Great sounding amplifier, actually. And the combo was fun too. The Black Star, that's great. You know, super usable. I was. I don't want to say pleasantly surprised, but, you know, it's a good sounding amp, you know. That sells them short or something, you know. I didn't try their amps for a long time. I'll say that. Like, I was just sort of like, oh, I don't know. I just didn't. But I have been impressed with their company and the products they put out for the past like few years, the amped 1 and then the amped 2, like those things are really useful. The power amp sim and the amped 1, it's a pedal with an amplifier built in, you know, and they've got like tube voiced power amp simulations in there, so you could use it just as a power amp to reamp something like this, you know, or a tube preamp or something. It's a great thing. And I already told you guys, but I took it on the road and used it as a backup. And actually, our bass player Sean Hurley, out on the Fight for Fighting and Bare Naked Ladies tour, his SVT crapped out a week before the end of tour. That's what he ended up using for the whole last week, was my amped 1. You know, it's hilarious because it's this great big, you know, whatever, 6 tube or 8 tube or whatever the heck's in an SVT, you know, bass amp sitting there unused, and this little thing leaning up against the side of the 810 cabinet, and that's what he ended up playing through. So they make some really good products, I think. So, and then the Driftwood amp was what I played through in the first video of the week. It came out last Monday. That was a really nice high gain sounding amp. That's you know, handmade in Germany. Yeah, really good sounding with the built-in tube screamer. Okay. Oh, what else have we got here? Let's see. Stephen Falkenberg is gloating about his healthcare. Healthcare free here. I used to live in one of those countries. May again someday. We'll see. You never know. I never go to the doctor when something is terribly wrong. Even when something is, or do you mean you do? You only go to the doctor. I thought you meant I never go to the doctor when something is terribly wrong, like a bone poking out of my skin. That's a unique situation that I've never had, and hopefully never will. Can you compare the Friedman Jake E. Lee amp to the Twin Sister? The Twin Sister is much more akin to like the Little Sister. The Jake E. Lee is like much more like a raw gain, going to be probably brighter. You know, the sister amps are from Dave are his sort of more late 60s JTM 45, but with some more gain than that and stuff, and more tight, but they have a little bit more of that. Like, it's great amp for Zeppelin and stuff like that, all the way up through AC/DC too. You know, you can get some what I would classify as high gain tones out of the sister amps. Everything, the Little Sister, the Twin Sister, the Dirty Shirley, all those amps can be fairly gainy, but they're not as bright, I would say, as some of his other, you know, and aggressive. Like, say the you know, Pink Taco version 2 is brighter and really Jose aggressive, kind of bright, like shreddy 80s. And I would say the Jake E. Lee probably falls between those two. Plus, it's got a clean channel. But a really good sounding amp, that little Jake E. Lee. It's terrific. Still sitting back there. Yep. What gear will you run on tour? Well, I'll be showing you that. I've actually, the two heads are right behind me. If I go like this, you can see my Blueface PT back there. So there's two of them there. I'll have two of those in stereo with two 412s. That's right. We like to go big around here. Just because I can. But no, seriously, I love it. Like, and the biggest change to the rig, because I've used that rig. This is basically the rig that I used in Japan on tour for a few years. 2 cabs, 2 PTs in stereo. But the biggest change that I'm doing that I haven't done before is the parallel mixer that's now on my pedal board. I've got a Musicom Lab parallelizer, and I'm running the EVH SD3000 delay from Boss and EVH. On the board, as well as an H90, and I've got one of the processors in the H90 and the EVH delay are running in parallel in the amp's effects loops, doing all the stereo stuff, and it is cool, man. I've never done the parallel thing, but there's so much clarity. You can really pour on the effects and use a lot of delay, like out of the SDE. Plus, the delays are so clear out of the SDE. Like, the color of them is so beautiful, and I can use a lot of delay and even some reverb and stuff. But with I don't know, there's something to it, man. Like the not running in series, which I did for years, just ran all the effects in series. Oh, I don't want to deal with parallel. now I'm doing it, and it's like, man, it's really big and clear sounding, and just great. So I love it, and can't wait to hear it through a big PA and in stereo and stuff. Yeah, some different pedals on my pedal board too, for tour, and I'll show all of this. But I've got a what's it called? A super clean or something from Exotic. It's so dark on the floor, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the red Exotic Clean Boost. But it's got a lot of boost, and I'm only using it in the lower end of the boost range. The Harmonist from Boss, just for a certain effect, is on my pedal board. And I've also got that Empress Heavy Menace for a really modern 90s distortion, because the PT is much more of a... I see that super chat there. I'm going to grab that in just a sec. But the Heavy Menace, yeah, it's doing the kind of grindy, like I've almost got it set like Rectifier thing for a couple tunes that we're doing, because we're rocking here and there in that set. It's a very wide set dynamically. There's all the way from, piano ballads to, like, rockin'. Like, and when I mean rock, I mean, like, full 90s. Like, yeah. So it's a really cool set. But anyways, I think that's the extent of the new stuff that's on the board, but that's a lot. So, and then guitars, I'm going to, of course, take this one. This is my main guitar lately, as well as the silver one. I love them both, my signatures. So I'll be using those. But I'm also taking my Nags Red Steve Stevens. It's tuned way down to C sharp. And I'm taking my Taylor. I've got a Taylor, I believe it's a 517. It's going to be the main acoustic, which I love. Also, probably my Chet Atkins, I think, is the... I'll have that for a couple things. DG335, my Pelham Blue DG335. Les Paul. I'm either going to take I'll probably take the Aura, and maybe I'll take the Aura and, because I've got an Aura that's still on loan from them. And I've got a black Les Paul Traditional that you guys have probably never seen, but it's a really good guitar. It's right here. Just one sec here. I'm going to gently put this guitar on the floor, and I'll show you this Traditional. I was using headphones for the pedal demo. I don't even need to wear them anymore, I guess. But isn't this a nice guitar? This is just a straight up Gibson USA Les Paul Traditional that I've had for many years. Probably 10, 12 years. And I used to use it a little bit with Melissa Etheridge. I would use it as a guitar that when I had to kind of ship... For a while, I was playing with both Don Henley and Melissa Etheridge at the same time. And I would have rigs going in different directions and stuff like that. And I just needed... It was like I needed another Les Paul. They don't have one sometimes for... So I got this to use for... as kind of like my second. When I've got an R9 too that I still have, but this thing, I don't know, I just thought I'd bust it out, and it's a great sounding guitar. It's just got 57 classics in it. It's a total run of the mill, off the line, circa 2010 or 11 Les Paul Traditional. So this was the guitar that they put out back then to kind of be like their new standard, they're or sort of replicate a 90s standard is actually what I think they were going for. Like the spec of the... They hadn't made that particular, like the kind of mid-90s standards for a long, long time. And then they put out this one and called it the Traditional. So, and I always loved the black with cream. So it's pretty, right? It's just simple. It's a straight up, Les Paul, basic. And then I think I'll also take the EVH, sorry, not EVH, but Music Man. Eddie Van Halen model that's back there. And then I've got this Sir, you guys have seen this a little bit. This guy's in drop D. This is going to be my drop D. And this is the Sir Black Cherry, I think it's called, metallic, the Wilkinson trim. This has Fishman pickups in it as well. And they work really good for some of the modern rock stuff that I'm doing. Like I say, with that Heavy Menace pedal and stuff. It just sounds really good in that guitar. So it's a great guitar. So yeah, two of my signature models, and Sir Aura, Sir T, lots of Sirs. Yeah. Paul says your Lake Placid Blue Sir Strat kills. I was thinking of bringing that too. I still might, but I've only got so much room. There's just a lot of music. It's you're probably like, what do you need all these guitars for? It's a lot of music. It's like more songs than I've learned in a long time for any tour, and it's a big cross section of tunings, of tones and stuff. So it's a lot of stuff. So Ryan says, can you see our emails? I haven't checked, but I'm sure they're coming in. So there's an email that I'm not gonna. I'll announce it. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll announce the winner next week on next Sunday Live. That'll bring y'all back. That's how we do it. We'll be right back after the break with more about da-da-da-da-da, and then you wait, right? Last week you were talking about Bogner. Now I'm going to get in trouble. Bogner Ecstasy being a bit polite. Do you mean it's lacking Marshall upper mid bite? Yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah. His amp, I can say this, I can, not piss off Reinhold, because his Helios does the upper mid bright thing. So he's got an amp that goes there. But his voicing, his version of, like when he first came out and the Ecstasy came out, a terrific amp, big fat clean channel and nice fat articulate distortion sounds and everything. But yes, they were a little more, less raw sounding, So that's the deal with those, I find. Like a little, like sort of pre-EQ'd, to EQ out anything that was a little harsh or crazy, Yeah, that's what I would say about the Ecstasy. That's what I noticed about it. And I did own one. So I was speaking from experience. I used one on tour for a while. It could be the right thing for a lot of things, but for me, I wanted a bit. I'm pretty if anything, I get accused of being too bright sometimes. I like high end, so it's a big part of the Marshall sound to me. So if I was to get a new Bogner, it'd probably be a Helios. That would be the most up my alley, tonally. Waiting for your new signature model to come to InStuff. Great store. Yeah, hopefully it comes soon. Those are good people there. I really like that shop. Had a great visit there in a clinic a few years ago. Yeah. How close is the Sir Bella and clean channel of your PT15? Really close. Yeah, that's what it's based on, was the Bella. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? Let's see. Oh, there's that super chat. Curious about reamping using Logic, radial reamp, and the Apollo. Okay. Use the Logic in-out plugin when reamping. No, when I've done it, and I don't do a lot of reamping, but if I do, like one of the things I had to set up a line out on my console for into basically a reamp box is when I was doing Tonex captures. So I'll just configure an aux send in Logic and send it out an output of my interface. So that's all. You say the in-out plugin, I guess you could, but I'll just literally use an aux send on a channel and send that to a bus, and then I'll set the output of the bus to be, say, output 4 out of your interface or whatever, and then that sends out into something like the radial, and it should work pretty flawlessly. The question is always how hot to set the output coming out, to be similar to what your guitar plugged into an amplifier would be. That's always the thing, and it's a bit of a moving target, but it should be a relatively easy thing, But yeah, I just use auxes. I guess the Logic in-out plugin is similar, but I figure I could just set a send on the channel, turn that up, and then route that to a bus, and send the bus out a selected output. All you guitar nerds that don't record are like, this is boring. What are you guys talking about? Routing buses. Why don't you buy a car? Why do you got to ride the bus? Hello from Canada. What's up, homie? How you doing? Oh my God, Jakey Lee tone so bright. Really? Not really. I don't think so. I mean, he used a lot of different kind of tones over the years. Really? Like what sound? He used EVs. That's one thing about his sound, you know. I always liked the sound, though. I remember when he did Badlands, the kind of raw guitar tones on those records were really cool. Later on, he started using way more like kind of 60s tone with fuzzy, you know, fuzzes and stuff, I think. Big fat stuff. It's a good question. Michael's asking, anybody ever try greenbacks and Alnico blues in a 412? I haven't, but I do have a 412 with blues. It's open back. It's an interesting cabinet. Kind of a small open back. It's one of the cabinets that we did for my Two Notes package. If you get my Two Notes, you know, signature speaker sim package, that cabinet's in there, and it's really cool for Vox stuff, or you know, anything you would use blues for. An open back cab with blues, but a unique cab. Part of what we tried to do in that package was use unique cabinets. You know, so it's not just another, here's a 412 with a V30. So all the cabinets in the package are all things that I've used in the studio or on the road, or unique cabinets. And so that's a pretty unique 412 open back with blues. Very unique kind of, you know, different cabinet. And it is a great sounding cab. So I I don't know how they would blend with greenbacks, but it might be a cool sound. Jed says, is this open format chat? I mean, yeah, you're just posting comments and then I'm reading them and kind of responding on the fly. I'm about 10 minutes back in the chat. That's not too bad. That's better than usual. Ever gig with full stacks, like 4 cabs? I don't think so, actually. Only half stacks, like 2 half stacks for gigs. I mean, full stacks, like, I don't even know that a lot of players use all the cabs all the time, like probably Hendrix did and Clapton, but even in the later years, I mean, it would seem to be that people would just mic the bottom cabs and the top ones were just for looks, that kind of thing. What's the ring you're wearing? This is from the Great Frog in London, and there's one in LA too. Great shop. All this other stuff is from Clocks and Colors, which is killer. Check out Clocks and Colors. Colors spelled the British way with the U. Clocks and Colors. Really nice. I love this thing. They make great stuff, man. Great rock and roll jewelry. How do you use stereo in a live setting? Most live shows are mono. No. I mean, smaller clubs and stuff. I mean, if small PAs and stuff. But most, I mean, no. I mean, think about how many stereo power amps are out there. I would say probably most live shows are definitely stereo, actually. And so you can pan. Now, the thing is, you know, depending on the size of the venue and stuff, how radical do you want to get with panning? Because if you pan one person like you would on an album or something all the way in the right speaker, or one guitar part or whatever, then the people on the left aren't going to hear it. But that's a good question for live sound people. Too bad Tom Abraham's not here. Sometimes he has frequented my chat, which is always a pleasure. He's an amazing sound guy. But I would ask him that, actually. It'd be an interesting question. He still mixed one of the best hard rock shows I ever saw, which was Alice in Chains in like 2012 in Vegas. And God, they sounded good. So good. So I'm like, yeah, that guy has it together. It's a wonderful live sound that he does, for especially for, you know, hard rock. Sounded so good. Jed's asking about the H90, because I was mentioning that I'm using it in parallel, using the Musicom mixer with my new guitar rig setup. Yes, the dry is off on the H90. So I've got the dry off on the H90 and on the EVH delay. And then the dry path is, you know, running through all the time on the mixer. So that's where you're getting the dry from. It's really cool. Let's see. Have you noticed there's a seems to be a certain number of people shifting away from digital and back to tube? You know, I just think that there's room for everything. I don't know that there's been a significant number of people shifting one way or the other. Maybe there's anecdotal evidence of that, but you know, there's definite times to use both, I think, and both are valid. But I don't think tubes have any danger of going away. That's for sure. You know, when I go see a club show in LA, or, you know, a lot of bands, I mean, they got amps up there still. So pop shows, you see a lot of Helixes and Kempers, you know, Axe Effects at metal gigs, you know, and it seems to be the industry standard when it comes to, you know, I know of one other band recently. It's a major, major multi-platinum band going Axe Effects, and they have for years, but they're updating to the newest ones. But the comment was basically from them that we just want what Metallica's doing because they're the industry standard. So Metallica's big, you know, Axe Effects 3 rigs. So there's that thinking, I think, where that, you know, their endorsement, I think, probably influences a lot of people. You know, when you see the biggest metal band in the world and a stadium band and stuff, and they've gone there, bands are there's going to be a certain segment that are just going to go, well, we're going to do that too. They're doing it. Why shouldn't we? Yeah, that endorsement lends a lot of weight, but there's going to be a certain number of that, you know, just love tube amps, and the thing that the tube amps do and the simplicity of it, you know, is a major thing. And so there's reasons to do both, you know, and there's no, guitar rigs are interesting. They were always like snowflakes, you know, and no two are the same. I guess with an Axe Effects, maybe they are the same, but they're not, because nobody's going to configure the stuff on the inside the same, which is what really matters, you know. All the chain of effects and stuff. So, you know, the variety is what makes it fun, I think. People doing things different ways. Have you ever tried lace alumitone pickups? I have not. I would love to try them at some point. I only had one guitar with lace pickups. It was a Seafoam Green late 80s Strat Plus, I think they were called. The one with the roller nut on it and stuff that I scalloped and kind of ruined. Ended up selling. But what was I going to say? Yeah, I wasn't really crazy about them in that guitar, but that's a one pickup, you know, 35 years ago. Oh, God, that's a long time ago that I tried. So, yeah. What else we got here? Oh, that's good to know. Chris says, don't use capital letters when you send email. Yeah, so for the pedal giveaway, for those that are just joining, send an email to petepedalgiveaway@yahoo.com and just all lowercase. What songs do you do in C sharp? Well, I can't give away songs from the tour that I'm about to embark on. I don't want to do that. I want to keep the surprise. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Looking through the chat here. When are you doing an episode with the Axis? I know I've been meaning to do it for 6 months, and I haven't yet. So I got to do that. And maybe that'll be something that I could do on the road. It'd be a fun one to do while I'm out on tour and I got some days off and can just tell the story and stuff. And I think I'll have it on tour. So yeah. Have you tried stainless saddles on any of your Floyd trims? I've never even replaced a Floyd. Like if the guitar comes with one, I use it, and you know, I probably have like 5 or 6 guitars with Floyds, but I've never replaced one or tried the different blocks, or I've never got into any of that. So I haven't. No, the titanium stuff, and maybe I should. You know. Todd says, maybe touring with Nick Carter would be the one job that puts you over the edge and finally gets Ernie Ball to put your name on the legendary player list. Good grief, you should be years ago. You know what? Ernie Ball is the most supportive company. They've been the best. You know, they're my string endorsement company. And as long as they keep being as wonderful as they are to me, you know, I'm all good with whatever they want. You know. If they want me to, you know, if they want to plaster my name all over things, that's fine. And if they don't, that's okay too. You know, because they're fantastic. So I really appreciate them. I really want a bass. I want to get one of the Music Man, you know, the Stingray. Like, I love those. They're so cool looking. I went and saw my friend Derek Frank play at the Baked Potato a while ago, and he was playing a Tobacco Sunburst with a blackguard. And I thought, that is the coolest looking bass. It's so cool looking. And, you know, the bass player, Cliff Williams at AC/DC, played one for a long time. I'm not sure if he still does, but I think it was his main bass for a long time. It's cool looking. Braxall, what's up, man? When you have a 500 series rack and there's no on-off switch on the unit, but the power supply is separate, where do you put the power supply so it does not cause any issues with noise? Do you have that? Like noise getting into your... I mean, I thought you were going to ask me how you turn it on and off. I just put my power supplies for like my mic pre's and like for my BAE and stuff with external supplies. I put them on the floor under my desk. So that's where they live. So maybe that, just away from other stuff, you know, away from racks of gear or anything. But my Vintage King, I have a Vintage King 500 series that I got from them many years ago. Chassis that has a switch on. I can show you what it looks like if you want, so that you can see. It's a nice alternative. So there it is. You can see the black. It's hard because of but you see the little black switch right in the silver panel on the front. That's the on-off switch for the 500 series, and it's just really convenient and nice, and it's all powered right in the unit. So maybe look for theirs. I don't think they're super expensive. I mean, not cheap, but... does your traditional stay in tune okay? Pretty good. Mine wasn't great till I had the nut worked on by a tech. Yeah, I mean, I've had that on mini Les Pauls, where I've had the nut looked at. This one seems okay, so far. You know, little big bends in the nut can really help for a short-term fix. Okay. How does the Ecstasy compare to a Shiva? My silver Shiva is pretty aggressive and rough sounding. That's how I remember them. A little rough. It wasn't my favorite amp, you know, to be honest. I like his Helios. That's the one I like. The Uberschall's pretty cool, too. And I think, you know, some of what was the Goldfinger? That was kind of cool. I was on tour with a guy that was using one of those for a while, 80-watt Goldfinger. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I am forced to use a DiMarzio in my Ibanez. That's interesting. Why forced? I wonder if it's got something to do with the bottom, the where the screws go and it fits in your Ibanez because of, you know, didn't jive with the tone zone. Any recommendations? Well, a good old super distortion is always fun. I have a new appreciation for that pickup. But, you know, people seem to really like the 36th anniversary PAFs, and they also make a newer PAF. It came around 2017 or 18, but a 59 PAF, kind of a revamped PAF thing. That's an 8.5 Alnico 5, 8.5K, you know, resistance, and Alnico 5. So check those out. Check out the 36th anniversary. I've heard nothing but good things about those. People seem to really like them. If you're looking for... Because the Tone Zone isn't a real hot pickup, I don't think. Yeah. Pete is loved by Japanese people. It is mutual. Mutual. Suki desu. Nihon wa. Love Japan and the folks there. Love. I can't wait to come back. I was just talking about that yesterday, how I'd love to do a clinic tour of Japan next year. Go do more than... Last time we just did Tokyo in 2018 or 19. 2018? Or 19? 2019. And it was really fun. I loved it. That particular clinic was a nice vibe. Great venue. I'd love to do it in the same place again. But I'd love to do Osaka, Nagoya, you know, get to some different places next time for the clinic tour. It's very selfish. I just want to spend time there, really. Yeah. Maybe I'll just move there. How about that? JJ says, been using Neo Creambacks with my PT15. That's cool. I was just talking about that the other day. When we did the PT15 cabs, we tried that, and I thought it was a great speaker, but a little soft, like you said. Yes, all good. You want to replace it with H75 Creambacks? Great idea. I think that will be perfect for you. Good thinking. We went with the Greenback and V30 combo. it just sounded really good in the cab. But we also tried 2 creambacks, and that sounded really good too. I agree about the creambacks with P215 a little soft. That's exactly. It's more like a volume thing to me actually, because they're a little less efficiency. I think. But a great sounding speaker, right? Like it's got a thing, and with the Neo Creamback with a loud, like a 50-watt Plexi or something, great, because it's got a vintage kind of sound to it, like a worn-in Greenback. Is kind of how they sound. Really good speaker. Really good. Yeah. I never listened to this microphone because I've got the headphones on today, and I never hear this, but it does sound really good, this setup. I'm running this SM7. You guys can hear it, but I'm always got the speakers turned off in here, and so I can't hear what it sounds like, but it's very radio sounding, isn't it? It's like I got it running into a DBX mic pre, a 560, and then it's going into my UA interface and running through a Manley Vox box with a bunch of compression on it, so that if I get louder, it doesn't get louder, and then I sound all full, so that if it... Sorry. But anyways, it sounds good in the headphones. Maybe I'll do it like this more often, so I can listen to the sound of my own voice. What a friggin' narcissist. When playing live, do you play loud all the time, rely on the sound guy, or do you control the volumes? I wouldn't say I play loud all the time. I would say I play with a moderate stage volume that's reasonable, that doesn't piss off too many sound guys. But I'm very dynamic with my levels, so I control the level from the guitar generator. I mean, they might boost me out there for solos and stuff, but I've got that's third channel on my amp is giving me 3-4 dB over the rhythm channel. And the way I gain stage pedals and things when I want to, I'm thinking about this part's supposed to be louder, and I don't rely on front of house to be, writing solos and stuff. That's coming from me, basically. Everything is coming from me. I mean, the EQ of the, guitar sounds and it's all, I think about it a lot, everything, so that I'm giving them the finished sound, and they just have to push up the fader, and if they're like, oh, it sounds a little like too much 1K in the PA tonight or whatever, they can do that. But I want to make their job as easy as possible from, with all the stuff coming from me. I don't want them to have to shape the sound too much. It actually really freaks me out when I go out front. I'm like, why does it sound so? And they're like, oh, I'm shelving it, like whatever, and doing I'm like, oh, I'd rather kind of do that for you, like give you the sound. I want the sound to be great coming from me, and have them just go like, oh, what a great guitar sound, I don't want them to feel like, this is a deficient guitar sound, and I need to, and then not tell me, because we spend so much, imagine, right? You spend so much time on your tone, and you're dialing in every little thing, speakers, everything, only to have, like, at the end of the chain, somebody decide that they want to do something different with it, right? So I love it when it's a symbiotic relationship with the front of house person, where they'll be like, hey, I'm getting a little too much of this, and I'll gladly go like, oh, well, we don't want that. Let's, and I love to go out front and listen in the PA and hear what the guitar sounds like, and hear if there's any problems, and then I can go in and compensate. I believe it should come from the source as much as possible. Same thing when you're recording. I mean, like, fixing things in the mix is never the best way, I don't think. Getting a great tone printed, something that goes down great, so that when, it comes to the mix, it's really just a question of minor tweaks. That's always the way I approach everything. Live, studio, the whole 9 yards, get a great sound. Give them a great sound. Loving the Boss SDE 3000. Do you think the DLS into it, or after it, like an amp? Do you think Sorry, I don't understand. Maybe you can rephrase that, Dave. I'm just not sure what the question is. But I want to answer it. I do. Okay. Pretty far back in the chat, so maybe I should page down quite a bit. Recycled Rando says, stereo is actually great for live sound. You can use stereo width versus mono focus to place things forward or back in the mix. How long have you been in the studio? Quite a while now, man. Like, when I think about it, it's weird, but it's been let's see, 8 years. This is the 8th year, which is insane. Like, time is flying, man. The older I get, it freaks me out because it feels like, then I think about it, go, okay, maybe it feels like that long, but it really feels like maybe 6 years, not 8. But we all have that lost pandemic thing where, the time disappeared for a couple of years there. It's very strange. You and your peers have a similar recorded YouTube sound. I thought you sounded more badass when you were playing with Tracy through the iPhone. Well, who knows? Maybe you just like raw. Let's see. I'm scared to scallop the thinner frets on my Charvel. Yeah, scalloping is always kind of scary. Leave that up to the pros. Yeah. Do you have a list of dates, says Music Life with Arthur? It's on Nick Carter's website. Ben, would you be so kind as to find that, the dates, and maybe post them if you're there? I would be very thankful. Braxall says, can we enter the pedal giveaway more than once? Please don't. Please just send me one email. I'm going on an honor system here. It's the first time I've done this. Maybe I can come up with a better way to do it next time. But obviously, if I'm looking through and I see like 50 of the same email from one person, maybe I'll just avoid you. No, I want just random selection of, one email each. Please, please, please. Yeah. So for those that just joined, we're giving away a pedal here. It's in conjunction with Catalinbread and Sweetwater. It's the Dirty Little Secret Deluxe. Here it is, sitting right here. It's their Marshall in a box style pedal with a built-in boost, very tunable. And send me an email to Pete Pedal Giveaway, all lowercase. Pete Pedal Giveaway at yahoo.com. Random selection. Somebody's going to get it. How's your floaters? Those are the things that float around in my vision and get in the way of reading your comments like they are right now. They suck, but, what are you going to do? I've been to see many a doctor at this point about them. I did go see a specialist in L.A. a little while ago that's a top-notch, great doc. And I got some good advice, I think. He basically advised me to do absolutely nothing until necessary, which is like he's like, you're going to get cataracts eventually, and then you'll have to get an operation, and at that point you can address these things when it's not an option, because you're like, I've got a cataract, I can't see. All right, well, now it's worth the risk of getting in there and doing because of, I have one good eye, basically. This one is the one not pulling for the team, so that always, doctors are like, okay, that changes things, because if you do an operation with some risk, it'll probably work out. You'll probably be fine, but you've still only got one real good eye. So, and it's not even real good. Oh, can you demonstrate the part that you're using the harmonist for? I'm not running through the board right now, actually, so I can't. But we'll save that for tour. But I'm using it for a drop. That thing, the Black Keys tune. It's like that. Not that song, though, but on another song. That's the only thing I'm using it for, but it's great for that. When a sideman goes on tour, Lauren's asking, does one get some pay up front, weekly, or most all at the end? That's a great question, and there's no real standard to that. There are payroll companies that deal with tours. Some tours are W-2, so you're treated like an employee and paid as such through a payroll company. Usually direct deposit. It could be once a week, could be twice a week. It's like that. Other tours are 1099 style, where you're an independent contractor and you submit an invoice, and they might pay you in 2 chunks, or they might pay you all at once. I've been paid in advance. I've been paid after. It just depends. So yeah, there's no standard. That's the truth. It's funny sometimes, per diem, you get in cash generally, but I've had tours where they just lump it in with here, we'll give your per diem in the And it's like, but the whole point of per diem is supposed to be so you have cash in your pocket to go to, whatever, like the coffee shop while you're on tour and buy something. So it's just funny, but there's different ways to do it. I do recognize that per diem is a pain in the butt when if you're out on a tour and there's like, even 15 people and you got to dole out $300 cash to all of them. That's a lot of cash to carry, which isn't that safe to have, and it's a lot of float. And it's like, it's like herding cats trying to come to the production office and everybody get their per diem, and then somebody doesn't, and then 2 days later they're like, hey, I heard you gave everybody per diem, I didn't get mine. Oh, now I got to find that. Where's the, it's just a pain in the butt. So I kind of get why they do it that way. I try and see all the sides in these issues. I do. All right. Nick says he loves the DiMarzio PAF Pro. There's a vote for that. Somebody was asking about DiMarzio pickups earlier. Oh, I haven't seen this. Kenny Aronoff Sessions episode with Melissa Etheridge. Let's see. I laughed when she was talking about you teaching your way out of a job by giving your guitar lessons. I got to watch that. I haven't seen that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, man, that's funny. I guess that's what happened. I never got hired again. So, but the funny thing about that situation was I was playing with her, and she had this newfound desire to play lead guitar around 20. So I started playing with her in 2011, I think. And 2011, we did a great tour. It was really fun. 2012, we're going out on the road again. She's come out with a new record, and she played all the guitar on the record. So that was probably my first clue. But, the bass player and the drummer in our touring band ended up playing on that record, but I didn't play on any of the record. I wasn't asked in to play. And I didn't take it personally. She just wanted to play. She's a guitar player. She wanted to play the guitars on the record. And then when we went out on tour, she said, hey, and she was Melissa's like the sweetest, right? So she's like, this one song, like, I think I'd really like to play the solo on it on the tour, And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm we've talked about this over the years ever since, but I was so like, part of me is I'm a teacher, so I like to help, and I like to, that's just part of my personality, and I've been doing it since I was a teenager, teaching guitar. So I noticed when she was doing certain things, she's a great guitar player, but like certain things, like her bending technique, she would bend down. When guitar players do that, like on the G string, they'll pull towards the floor. Well, that leaves the D open to ring, and if you're turning on a tube screamer or something for the solo, there's more gain, and then it gets a little. So I said, oh, absolutely. But then I would notice the way she was playing certain things. I would say, can we sit down, and I'm going to help you with this a little bit. Like I want to talk you through some lead guitar stuff and bending and vibrato and stuff. And I coached her a little bit, on some of these things and playing lead guitar. And the number one thing I think that I recommended to her was when she's playing solos. She's an incredible singer and super soulful, and I'm like, just do that through the guitar. Your voice in your head, let that inform the notes you're going to play. And anyway, so I really enjoyed it. I always do, and I ended up playing a lot of rhythm guitar on that tour. And then after that, I left to actually go do the Mylène Farmer tour in France, and that was the end of my tenure with her. And now she doesn't really have another guitar player. She has a keyboard player that plays some guitar sometimes, I think, and she's like the main guitar player. So anyway, that's what happened. But that's really cool. I got to watch I love those Kenny Aronoff sessions videos where he's interviewing different artists. If you guys haven't seen it, is it primarily on YouTube or is it on Instagram? Because I see the clips on Instagram, so I didn't know if maybe it's a YouTube thing, and I just wasn't aware of that. But I'd love to watch that with her. She's and Kenny's a wealth of knowledge as well. I learned some really interesting things from him about the way that he conducts, himself around these big personalities, folks like Melissa, or Melissa's the sweetest. She's so down to earth, but rock stars is what I'm talking about. How he. We were speaking at one point. I was at a Christmas party and he was there, and he was talking about when he maybe gets an offer to do a big corporate thing or a gig or a one-off party or something with people, and how to get other folks interested, folks like Sammy Hagar or something, like how he would oppose it to them. And it was great business advice. He was basically like, be direct and to the point with people like that. Like, don't hit them up. I can loosely, I don't want to relate exactly what he told me, but he's like, if you're approaching somebody that's highly successful and they're probably busy and stuff, essentially the advice from him was, don't beat around the bush with like, hey, so how you been? Like, everything good? Like, da 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 da. Yeah, just wondering, like, oh, how's the kids? How's it? Well, there's this thing I was wondering if you maybe be interested in doing. It's like a da da da. And they're already like, huh? But his advice was basically like, you approach the person like, hey, what's up? Hope you're well. New Year's Eve, 75K, 2-hour set, Mexico. Are you interested? Right? Like, just interested. Like, that's it. Like, just here's the deal, lay it all on the line, and then just, and they'll tell you, oh, sorry, I already got something. Or they're like, I want to know more. Yeah, that sounds interesting. But get right to the nitty gritty, the business. And I was like, that's really good advice, really good advice. So anyways, what else we got here? Jen's here somewhere. Oh, there she is. How are you, Jen? Are you well this week? I hope so. You're just Jen. You're one word Jen. I'm not even going to say your last name because you're Jen at this point. That's what you are. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. You're like Madonna. You're Jen. Okay. You have the perfect radio voice. Why, thank you. Welcome to the show. It's Pete Thorn, Sunday Live. How'd I do? If Pete moved to Japan, he would be 8 hours in front instead of behind. I'd be in the future. That's true. I'd probably be in a little cramped Tokyo apartment somewhere, but loving it. Okay. Mic and production sounds great. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, it's nice. SM7, the good old classic radio mic, These work great for a lot of stuff. The only problem with them is they're a little low gain. But, you can always get a cloud lifter to boost them or something. They should make one with a built-in cloud lifter. That'd be a great Shure product. If they made one that's got a little built-in preamp to boost them a little bit. Just the only thing about them, they're low gain. So I've got the mic pre-cranked. Okay. What did I mess up? Jay Foster saying Pete means dirty little secret pedal. What did I say? Did I say it wrong? It's the Dirty Little Secret Deluxe from Catalinbread. Catalinbread. In conjunction with Sweetwater, doing the giveaway for this pedal. I'll put the info in the video description below. I haven't done that as well, but yeah. One email to Pete Pedal Giveaway, all lowercase, at yahoo.com. One email from you all. Random selection. Somebody's going to win. Yeah. The soothing Sunday evening voice. This is my new meditation. You're getting very sleepy. Relax your face. Feel the tension. Just absolutely leave your body. Imagine the top of your head opening up, and it's like a volcano of tension. Oh, that sounded weird. The top of your head opening. Don't imagine that. I'm imagining it metaphorically. The energy just. All right, I'll stop. What else we got here? Let's see. I know HSS guitars are ubiquitous, but why is it I get a little bit of a Hentor Sportscaster vibe from your new signature guitar? Well, I mean, that's of course the Alex Lifeson guitar that he played starting sometime around Moving Pictures, I would think, right? He got these kind of Strats that were custom built with a Floyd. I think some of them had a Floyd, or one of them had a Floyd, maybe both did, but no locking nut. They were really cool and kind of ahead of their time in that way, and that's sort of what I do. I do a locking bridge with no lock nut. So yeah, and humbucker in the bridge. Yeah, I loved those guitars, Alex had great taste in guitars. Still does. I'd love to have Alex on this show if I could talk him into it. Anybody see the version? Well, just speaking of Rush, we put up our version of YYZ this week. A classic rock show. I'm very proud of that. I think it turned out great. Wayne played the hell out of it. Drums and bass, both you guys. You killed it. I was very pleased. And Henry and keys, of course. What else we got here? Andy Timmons says when he records, he gets it right at the source. He doesn't use any post EQ. That's what I try and do. I mean, very little. You always have to do a little, I find, but I mean, like a little. You know, just a low shelf, and then, or sorry, a high shelf. Get rid of the super low stuff. Below like 80, 90. Just clean that up. And maybe a little low mid dip sometimes. Maybe a little bit of top end you need to add. It just depends. You can't tell until you get to the mix. It's like, okay, I got to do this and this. But you can't, it's like it's like you're doing a painting, when you're playing on a song and you're painting one part of the painting. And then like when you stand back and you look at the whole thing, you can really see what's going on. That's like listening to the mix and going, oh, we need a little more here and here to lift this and do, and that would be a hard thing to do in advance, to know exactly what it's going to need so as soon as you add a bass, everything interacts with everything else. The interesting thing about, if you get to hear an Atmos mix in true sort of surround, it's incredible because you can really let the tones live. Like the EQing and stuff probably needs to be less radical because you're not trying to shove everything into a stereo spectrum. Imagine when it was mono, and then we went to stereo, more space and left and right channels. But with Atmos, you've got this all the way around thing. And that was one thing that really blew me away listening to, I got to hear, in Bob Clearmountain's studio as well as the Sweetwater Studios, they have an Atmos room. But I remember in particular Clearmountain studio hearing like an Elton John track. I don't know if it was Rocket Man, but it was something with acoustic guitars I'd never really paid attention to before. And I think it might have been Rocket Man, but I can't remember. But it doesn't matter anyway. The acoustics were like, with Atmos, you've got, you can put the vocal center right in front of you. And then you can have everything just placed all around. And it's like these acoustics were left and right, but I don't mean coming from the front left and right and then the vocal in the middle like panning would be. They were literally over here, coming at you this way with the vocal here. And with everything placed like that, it was like, oh my God, those acoustics sound so cool. Like so much clarity. And you could hear, articulation and parts like never before, And it's like being in the middle of the band when you listen to an Atmos mix. Like you're standing on a stage in a band in a circular kind of setup, and you can hear everything, just everything. It's such a different way to listen to music, and it's really fun. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? Let's see. It's 1:08. We're going to go till, well, I started late today, so we're going to go for a while longer, probably another 40 minutes or so. And then I got to get to work. I got to start rehearsing tomorrow. So today is my last day to run over some music. Speaking of which, https /nickcarter.com/events/ that's the tour dates for those that would like to come see me and everyone else. It'll be a fun show. It'll be a fun night of music. I guarantee it. It'll be good. Great band. Yeah. Laser therapy for floaters, something you might look into. The last guy that I spoke to, this expert in the field, he advised against all that stuff. This is like one of the top surgeons in the U.S. that does, he's a ophthalmologist that does cataract surgery and lens replacement stuff, and he advised against all that. Yeah. Jimmy's had strabismus operations. That's like the operation I would get to straighten this bummer. How'd it go? Tell me about your experience. I'd love to know, by the way. Very interested. Thank you for the super chat there, T-Top. I appreciate that. Hope you're good, dude. I am well, thank you. I have those same headphones. They have no right to be that good for the price. They are really good. The only thing that others will relate is they break. This side that comes popped out all the time, I can kind of stuff it back in and then it works. But so they're very delicate, but they do sound amazing. They're just a little bit delicate, I would say. But they are really great. They're, do you remember what they're called? CB1s or something from... I don't remember. Company makes them. Posted in the thingamajig, but they are really good. I moved to them from 7506 as the standard Sonys, which were much brighter and kind of. I still like those, but they're different. These are just really, really good for the dough. I agree. I've got some other nice ones too. I've got some Bayer. What are they? 770s or something. They're pretty fantastic. Status. That's it. My knees hurt. Status headphones. They are really good sounding headphones. Agreed. Yeah. All right. Oh, there's a super chat. Thank you guys for the super chats. Appreciate that. I'm gonna put my amp on standby because I'm not playing through it, so might as well turn it off. Actually, thoughts on alder maple versus basswood with maple top maple. Alder maple. Okay, so alder with a maple board and maple neck versus basswood with maple top and maple. That's a great question. My guess, I mean, that's kind of my EVH. Basswood maple top, maple. And alder maple. I think alder has a little more rich through the mids. It's going to be a little more cutting and a little more neutral. I find basswood a little softer and great with gain. But like my EVH guitar, terrific with high gain, you know, sounds really, really nice and smooth. It's got a smoother sound, the basswood, with maple top and maple, I would say. Alder is going to be a little more, it's going to give you a little more honk through the mids, I think, or just a little more apparent mids, you know? And that's like my guitar's alder, maple neck, ebony board, my main, you know what I mean? And it's going to be a little more, yeah. The basswood always seems to, it's got a slightly spongier, I don't know, softer, low thing, and it's like a little smoother sounding. It's a little darker, like it's darker. So then with the maple board and with high gain, I think Eddie liked it towards, you know, later half of his career because it smoothed things out a little bit, and I think he moved towards that, like a little less, you know, that kind of smoother thing. I don't know. I don't think he was a big fan of mid-range, you know, or he liked to scoop out mids in his sound a little bit here and there. He liked a very broad sound, you know, but without too much like through the mids, you know. That wasn't really his thing. He liked a smoother kind of broad, and that's the sound of basswood to me. People like it they use it on a lot of, you know, Ibanez and the EVH guitars. I mean, you think about high gain. There's not a lot of people that rave about basswood that are like blues players playing, you know, single coil strats. You know? Yeah. It's more like a high gain thing. So when you think about, you know, pile distortion onto things, and pile on the distortion, you want to smooth it out a little bit, generally speaking, because it can get a little, you know, so... Okay. Jen says, any more suggestions for guitar stuff episodes? Warm-up stuff. You know, how to get the hands in shape when you're just picking up the guitar for the first time that day, something like that. Like warm-up, you know, what to do for the first 10 or 15 minutes. How do you warm up? How do you, you know, to get your hands synced together. Tuning is an interesting one. You know, everybody tunes a little different, and it's like, you know, where to read. Like for me, when I'm tuning, sometimes I check fretted notes as well as open strings, and especially for drop tune or if you're using lighter strings and stuff, how you tune the low strings so that when you're playing, you know, say you're doing drop D. and then you do the put your finger across for the 90s thing. Sometimes that low string can be sharp, when the tuner's reading dead in tune, it's like, and then, so do you tune the low string a little flat? Because I do sometimes. I'm on the flat edge of in tune with the low E or drop down to D or C sharp or whatever it is. Generally speaking, I find, because, when you're playing aggressive and you're rocking, it's like you tend to push just a little harder too. And I like big frets. So I will tend to tune the bass string just, so that like when you pick it, it hits in tune and then falls off just a little flat. That's the way the tuner reads. And I find that's about right. So I'm almost tuning to the attack. Hit the note, it's in tune, and then just because the string's like goes a little bit, So that would be an interesting one. There's 2 ideas. Let's see. Lauren says, could you refuse her and keep the gig in any case? This is with regards to Melissa. I doubt it. I mean, I always want to be supportive of the folks that I work for and stuff. And to be honest, it's like the stories that she always talks about it, like even on the Kenny episode, she talks about it still. So I guess it made an impression that I like to think of myself as in it for, the team and not like especially as a sideman. Something I got to like the bigger picture here is like when you're younger and you get a sideman gig, we can tend to, especially when you get your first big gigs and stuff, you can tend to start to tie your ego up into the gig, maybe, ooh, I've got this gig. Look at me, aren't I? Whatever, and then you're out there in front of people for the first time and everything. And then if you lose the gig for some reason, it can be devastating. Or if they just don't tour anymore, it can be devastating, whatever. It's like, it's this bad ego thing that can happen, right? So something that I've found is that doing your own thing, be it a YouTube channel or be it, putting out your own records or whatever, is a way to soothe your ego. Or like at least put your voice, like, this is me, this is what I do, look at me, we're all like a bunch of crazy like narcissists these days. But, there's an element of that to art, I guess. That's like, it is what it is. You want to share the thing that you do. But like your sideman gigs, there's only one name on that bill, and it's Melissa Etheridge, and it's like you're there to be part of the team. You're a cog in the wheel to be supportive. You know when to step up and be supportive of but I always use you're the Clark Kent Superman, They want you to be Superman at certain times. Time to play the solo, go up front, thousands of people, and you got to play, but then it's time for you to back up, and because there's one name on the marquee, right? And so to always have a perspective on that and get your yah-yahs out in different ways. Like, so put out your own music or do YouTube or whatever it is that you do. Do it in the way that you do it. And that soothes that. It allows you to, be yourself and express yourself. Look, we're like little kids, doing a finger painting. And it's like, look what I did, It's like that never goes away, And I don't think anyway. But so, and that's part of artistic expression. But be that. Don't, but when you're working for these other people, it's like, so I guess that's where it was coming from, It's like, I don't care. Like with the band, I always just wanted to be a part of a band where everybody's contributing, I didn't have to be like the focus of the damn band, it's not actually my most comfortable. I like being a part of a support of a team, and playing a role in presenting a song, and I like support. Maybe that's why I've had a long career as a sideman, because I really actually enjoy it. I enjoy getting a gig and helping that person present their show in the best possible way that it can be. That's what I really care about. I care about them having a successful show, and at the end they're like, guys, that was great, and they're just like elevated, and that's the job, and I love that. I really do. I really enjoy that work. So, anyways, on that note, guitars for your project. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. How would you run the H90 and Boss EVH together in front of a matchless HC30? It's early matchless with no loop. Well, I wouldn't. First of all, I what I would do is run a direct out rig. By taking a line off the tap, I have the perfect thing right here. It happens to be sitting on my desk. Here's the Sir line out box. So you would take the out speaker out of the amp, run it into here, then you take the speaker through and run that into the matchless speaker, your internal speaker. But now you've got this pot here that this gives you a line out. Take this 1/4 inch out, and you run that into, if you wanted to run, just series effects, you go straight into your effect unit, and then you would run, this output into your effect unit, and then that into a little power amp and a cabinet, second one. You put that beside your matchless, and now your effects are in the other cabinet, right? That's the best way to do it with these H90s and EVH, those types of post effects. That's the way that you're going to get the best sound, and that'll be the way that somebody like, not exactly, but like Landau or different people, with the second amp for the effects only, running a vintage style amp just for the pure tone, and then having a second amp there with effects in it, and it'll work beautifully, So that's the best way to do that, really. There's different ways to do what I just said, but this is one, taking a tap off the line going to the speaker, running into your effects. And then now if you want to do parallel, that's really great. You could get something like the Musicom Lab parallelizer mixer or the Wetter box from the Gig Rig, and you can keep that direct dry signal really pure, run the effects 100% wet and blend them in, and do that in the second amp. It sounds complicated, but it's really not. In this simple way, like Scott Henderson and Landau, the way they do it is literally running into their post effects, taking a tap, run into the post effects, and they go into the front of another amp often. Henderson would use like a little Fender combo, and he runs literally the effects right into the front of a little Fender, I can't remember what it was, a Blues DeVille or something I saw him do it with. But then he just turns up the volume a little bit, and then you've got EQ on your effects too. And you might be like, oh, isn't that going to be weird? And it's not weird. It actually sounds so good, like the way that he does it. You can see it in that routing in the video that Tim and Pete. I'm Pete from Tim and Pete, but the way we did a Tim and Pete show with Scott Henderson, and he set up that whole rig, and he explained it how he does it, and it sounds so good. So that's one way to do it. Literally, if you've got a Fender Princeton, a little combo, you could do it like that, and it's surprisingly great, and it's going to be better than running the effects in the front of the matchless, and you can do that. But it's not going to be as clean and stuff. But hopefully that's helpful, and gets you on a path to get it going. Pete isn't far from 260K subscribers. I want to get to 300. I think I'll be very happy if I make it to 300 in my lifetime. Please subscribe if you haven't. Ask your friends to subscribe. The more the merrier. Andy Rex the Cams there with a super chat. Thank you, man. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'd love to hear your take on the solo from Chemistry. Is that Rush? Get Alex on the show and he can demonstrate and make my day. Wasn't it great when he was on with my buddy Chris Shiflett and demonstrating the solo from Limelight? I loved it. I love how he described it. Like it's supposed to be fragile, almost falling apart or something. He said, oh, I love it. I love it. Love you, Alex. That's great. Like his bar technique and the way he would... His solo is very emotional, the way he would solo. They had so much... I come to appreciate them more and more and how unique they are and kind of avant-garde. And in the context of Rush, which is very technical and... kind of Alex's playing and solos were a really great human element, it's like the warmest things in Rush were Neil's lyrics and Alex's solos, the most human kind of vulnerable stuff, I think, and so it was a great, Rush is a great combination of cerebral and all heart, and for those true fans, they get that, people that really spend some time listening to them and stuff, Yeah. It's funny because it just made me think about it. It's like a lot of people don't, like if they were to give Rush a casual glance, they would think, oh, it's just a bunch of, like, oh, it's so technical back in the day, or it's so like nerdy or whatever. But actually there was so much heart and soul in it, and you got to dig a little deeper to get to that, the human condition kind of stuff and all that. That's all. Just a little bit deeper. And you're like, oh, there's so much real in this, and it was all wrapped up in this Prague thing. It was really cool, So, love that. Thank you for the super chat, Andy, and I'll think about that. And I'd love to have him on this. Someday it'll happen, maybe, if I can get him to... he was so great on Chris's show, and I'm a little sad he did his show before he did mine. No, I'm not. Chris is doing great work. His show's awesome. It's terrific. Justin, thank you for the super chat as well. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for these super chats. Helps keep the coffee flowing around here. And with that, we'll take a sip. Are you doing the Classic Rock Show this winter? That's the plan. That is the plan. I always enjoy it. I've grown to really enjoy it. Going there and playing with those folks. Those folks are my friends. They're a great group of people. I really like them as people. I mean, I love them as people. They're really nice folks. And I miss them, actually, not seeing them for much of the year. And they're just really fun. It's a nice vibe. Touring becomes a little family, and it's nice. And then you go home and then you miss them, hopefully, unless you're on a shitty tour. Yeah. I've gotten a lot of amplified tone and overdrive insight from your kind advice, says Russ. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. I only know kind of what do I know? But I guess I know, because I don't think about it much else. Pretty one-dimensional when it comes down to it. Pete, do you know the best DBX 160A or X clone for Stompbox? Absolutely, the Keeley GC2. You already said it. No, that's the only one I know of specifically that was designed around that. I mean, you could probably get something like the Keeley compressor, what's it called, the Compressor Pro or Deluxe or whatever it's called, that will probably get you there, but do other things as well. But man, that 160, I really bonded with that pedal. A terrific sounding pedal. I have it here somewhere. I got to find it because I'd love to use it again. I'm using the Woodshed from Sir now on my board, and it seems to be doing just a great job, and I don't have a desire for something else. But compressors are funny. They're like, it's the most sort of... If I do a compressor video on my channel, although I did a how to use compressors or explaining compressors video once, that video has quite a few views. It did really well. But my compressor demos are probably like the least watched. Fuzzes and compressors, it's like people aren't as interested at nearly as distortion or a delay. Those get way more views. Compressors way down on the scale of... But yet, they're so important to my whole clean thing. Like, I gotta use a compressor. I love a good compressor, so it's important to me. Do you watch this is a great question. Do you ever watch other people play songs on YouTube to learn them, or is that cheating? I do it all the time. All the time, I bet you guys would be surprised, like the amount of, rock star guitar players that got to relearn their own stuff that probably go do that. How did I do it? I think that is a thing. I mean, it's like, there's somebody on YouTube that's figured it out better than, and it's so great. It's such a great resource. You always got to look for, there's a lot of crap too. You got to dig through and find the ones that are the right way, but oh yeah, it saved me a lot of time, man. I mean, honestly, learning things, I do all the stuff, like whatever I can do to get there quickest. So if it's YouTube, absolutely. Sometimes I'll sit down, I'll be learning, how's it go? I'm trying to learn, song for a classic rock show or something. How's it go? So, let me see if there's a YouTube video. I'll put it's 30 seconds in, and then I'm like, there's an easier path to this, Somebody's already done the hard work. Yeah. Okay. Joe Bonamassa was on Tone Talk this week. That's right. He was great. He's proper straight shooter. 100%. He is. Yeah. He says what he thinks, and he's the guy. He's very successful, and works really hard. Obviously, you don't get there without working hard. And I have a lot of respect for him. And sort of know each other peripherally a little bit, but I'd love to speak with him, more. Maybe that'll happen. And I love his, he has a great love, obviously, for vintage guitars and vintage, Americana, like, all the stuff, the great, the 50s and the 60s and what was done. And he's a bit of a, what's the word? I mean, curated, that kind of knowledge, we don't want to let it slip away. And so he's learned so much about it. And he's not an old guy, you know, he's a younger guy. I mean, he's middle-aged guy, but whatever, you know what I mean? He knows a lot of things. You know, I love that he's learned all that stuff, and now he can pass that on to others. And, you know, for those that have a love of that stuff, because, you know, the ins and outs of what Fender and Gibson were doing, and get, you know, 40s and the 50s and the 60s and into the, you know, what we consider guitar kind of, you know, the birth of rock and roll, and the instruments that helped, the tools that helped. So Wayne Golden, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Appreciate that. Somewhere over there in the UK, in the United Kingdom. Oh, there's Trevor as well with one. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the show. Appreciate you. Appreciate you very much. Thank you. I have a few guitars made of all poplar now. All poplar? Like neck and everything? I've never tried a guitar with a poplar neck, only body. Poplar to me is a little like alder. I always wonder why they never made necks out of alder. But there's got to be a good reason. Maybe it's just not, you know, something enough. A little flat open is a great compromise for my fat finger as well. Yeah, a little flat on the low string, right? To keep it from going sharp. I think so. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Here's some suggestions for Jen for her show. She's got her new guitar series that she's doing every Sunday with a new kind of like, you know, there's short lessons that she does every Sunday morning. So changing strings, differences. Changing strings is a good one for sure. How you stretch, how you wind the peg. Differences in acoustic and electric, nylon, playing simple songs in 4/4. Good suggestions. Let's see. Learning from a luthier is something I'd want to do sometime soon. Any leads? I thought MI used to have a guitar building school, but I'm not sure about that. I've always wanted to do the Bruce Egnater amp build class, you know, where you go, sometime late summer, early fall, he does these classes where you go out to his place in Michigan and you actually build an amp over a couple days. And I've always wanted to do that, just to get more knowledge about circuits and flow all the way through, and so that I could speak a little bit more intelligently. Like, you know, I have just enough knowledge to be dangerous, but not enough to know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to the circuits, you know. Understanding, you know, basic Fender and Marshall circuits and stuff like that, and knowing the flow and the approximate values and resistors and caps and stuff in a JTM 45 versus a super lead versus a super bass versus, you know, Fender AB 165 or whatever circuit, you know. I've got an interest in that. Favorite AC/DC song to play? Oh God, it's hard to pick, dude. Hell's Bells is pretty great to lay into. But there's so many good ones. I mean, like, I tend to play Have a Drink on Me a lot, as a guitar store, trying out a guitar song. There's just so many good ones, you know? So many good ones. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What headphones do you use for mixing? Well, it's generally these. These are the Status Audio CB1 or something, I think they're called. So I check on these. These are inexpensive, man. They're like around $60, $70, something like that. The company contacted me ages ago and said, hey, will you do a little thing on our headphones? You know, they get a lot of terrific reviews on, you know, I went and looked and I thought, they do get a lot of great reviews on Amazon and stuff, and people, the general comment was like, all right, these are incredible for the money. And so they sent me some, and I tried them. I was like, oh my God, they do sound really good. Like, they're just like really balanced. And so I don't mix a lot on headphones, to be honest. Now, if I'm mixing on the road, when I have to mix on headphones, I'm using my new Ultimate Ears Pro in-ears. They're called Premiers, I think. And they sound terrific. But here it's these, generally. This is what I've been using. And they're nice. And I've got a few other. I've got an open pair. They're a Audio-Technica open back pair, and they sound really, really, really good. I've got those at home right now. I've also got these DT something or other from Bayer. I mentioned them earlier, 770 or 1770. Those sound terrific. But yeah, I might switch to those because these are actually broken on one side. They're a little delicate. These, I'm not going to say they're the best over-engineered. They're just really good. They've kind of got the headphone thing figured out with Chinese manufacturers as well as in-ears. I mean, they make these in-ears that I hear people using as their secondary pair. They're 3-driver or 5-driver or whatever, and they're like $70. Because in-ears can cost so much. They can be like 600 on up, for a good pair of molds, and that are 3-driver, 4-driver, 5-driver. A lot of them around the, I think, UE11s around $1,200. These in-ears I'm talking about, that you can order, that are just generic tips and stuff, but they're it's supposed to be fantastic, and they're like $70, that you can buy on Amazon. So it's similar to these. I mean, that game is kind of, they get it figured out, I guess. But these are really good headphones for the money. I will say that. But because they're breaking, I might switch to my my Bears, which are nice high end ones that sound terrific. Okay. What else? Arthur says the gigs he did as a side guy were fun. Yeah, it's fun. It's a good, you got to be careful not to tour your life away, but it is fun. It is fun. People remember good actions with fondness and bad actions with trepidation. That is 100% true. Yeah. Steven says, can take a lifetime to gain trust, and that can be destroyed in 5 minutes or less, in an instant, with one decision. That's true. Any experience or thoughts on the Hotone Ampero 2, considering losing my 3 big Strymons and getting one? Dave really likes that thing. This is a small effect unit from Hotone that Dave really bonded with because it's so simple and sounds good and has a really good interface. Drinking my breakfast still. Looks like a great unit. I haven't tried it personally, sat down with it, but Dave always is raving about it. So seems like really good. Simple, Yeah. Yep. Let's see. There's more comments here. I'm trying to go quick here. I'm going to go for another 20 minutes or so. Recently sized down my pedal board for fly dates. What's a good 5 or 6 output power supply? Is isolated necessary? Always, I mean, for a small one, the small Strymons seem good for the time. They're quite small. The Kiox ones are really good. The Eventide, they make a smaller one though too. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 outputs on it. The one I have here, it's the one I use on my desk, the Eventide version of the Kiox. I think that's how you say it. I might be saying that wrong, but it does everything from 9 to 12 to 15 to 18 volts and switchable outputs. You want a good power supply. You don't want to have problems with noise and failures or anything. So I used to use G-Lab as well, and those were good. I don't see those around that much anymore, but they might be around still. I use those on tour faithfully. All my board is Friedman's. My board has 2 or 3 underneath Friedman power supplies. And they've been great. Fucking knock on. Oh, I swore. Sorry. Every time I get excited, I might curse. No, when I say it's been great, it doesn't fail, I freak out instantly in my head. I'm like, I have this I don't know if it's post-traumatic stress, but flash to like failure on stage. That's what just happened. A little Tourette's. Let's see. Perfect tip timing. Struggling with my H90 right now. Don't like what it does to my core tone. Oh, well, yeah. Explore a different way to hook it up then. I mean, the H90 sounds absolutely brilliant. So if you can use it in more of a parallel configuration or with a second amp for the wet stuff, you're probably going to love it. The H90, man, I mean, it's like I had to come up with a sound that's a filter sweep that's so... starts really dark like this, and then it kind of opens up, and the sound goes like that. that was not hard to do. You know, I just like found, okay, what if I set it for like, you know, a whole note kind of sweep, and then set the tempo really slow, and then I do this, and I set the wah, and I make it auto, and as soon as I hit the preset, it starts, and then it opens. Oh, there it is, you know. And it was so easy. Plus the micro pitch, plus black hole reverb, plus spring, no problem. Oh, and then certain delays. It's like, I've got the EVH delay on my board, and that's my main delay for sure. But every now and then I need like a tape with lots of wow and flutter on the back end with like a falling apart sound, you know? Oh, well, I'll do it in Eventide. Tape delay, turn up the wow and flutter and filter. Oh, there it is. Sounds perfect. So it's the jack of all trades. It sounds, you know, it does a lot, man. You know, really good. Really, 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 really good. That's all I can say. Music Life with Arthur says he was never a big Rush fan. He's a Triumph guy. Triumph was just like really good too, but they were different, you know, just they were a trio from Canada, so with a guy that sang high. So that's about where the comparison ends. They were way more a straight up, you know, in the April Wine camp, or straight ahead rock and roll. They're not a prog band at all, you know, way more hard rock band or melodic rock, you know. The Trailer Park Boys could probably get you Alex on the show. Yeah, maybe in a plastic garbage bag, right? All taped up. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, watch the Trailer Park Alex Lifeson Rush episode. It's great. They kidnap him. It's awesome. It's so good. That's when you're like, all right, Alex is obviously the greatest guy in the world. If he agreed to do all that, it's pretty awesome. So I just love the scene of him with gaff tape in the plastic bag sitting in the trailer. So funny. Okay, I'm pretty far back in the chat, so I better move down. Oh, there's a super chat from you, Music Life with Arthur. Thank you, man. I have some SS, got nothing else. Just showing support. Hey, man, you're always so supportive. You're always here. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. I feel you have to reach out to Alex. I did actually, but he was kind of at the time like not into doing, you know, shows and stuff. I think for whatever reason he was just not. You know, the response I got back was like, maybe later, but not now. So that's what happened. Which happens, you know. I am supposed to have a really cool guest on that I won't announce unless it actually happens, because maybe it never will. But you know, from a great big rock band that agreed to do the show, but we haven't been able to find a time yet that they're available to do it. So, but that's an open-ended thing. So hopefully that will come through, because I'd love to do this interview, but I'm not going to say who, because that would be like, then you'll just be like, is it happening? And then if it never happens, it's just lame then. So Chris says that 1176 pedal from UA looks cool. It is really good. You could see it in that quick kind of demo that I did while I was at Sweetwater. Now, that was not my guitar, and, you know, we were running into the Dream. I had no time to tweak, so that was but it sounded good, right? It was cool. It was like a very just off-the-cuff, kind of like I demoed this pedal right here, just on the fly, you know? But really good sounding 1176. Scott says, can we hear the Dirty Little Secret? Yeah, I've still got it plugged in, I think. I'm running it direct right now, so you're literally hearing it. It's literally running through a speaker simulator, and this is just the pedal right into my interface. Kind of sounds like a raw Plexi, the way that I got it going right now. So it's got a direct output on it. It doesn't have speaker simulation, but it does have, a line outputs. You can run into a line level inputs. That's what I'm doing right now. You can kind of hear the boom, boom in the low end, like it's supposed to be doing a Plexi thing, you know. Let me try and brighten up the speaker sim a little and see what that does. Oh, that's better. woman from Tokyo. She makes me see. Come on. There's a super chat from Wayne. What's up? Nice to see you. Valeria says she's leaving. She's probably gone already to go record vocals. Well, nice to have you, and see you later. Come back next week. Oh, let's see. See, Zach did it. Zach learned Pantera songs off of YouTube. Of course. Why would you work too hard, you know? If somebody's already gone through the work, that's what YouTube's great for. Yeah, we learn everything from YouTube these days. Triumph played the US Festival, went over really well. Yeah, that is a good... They were great at the US Festival. Rick, playing his Framus. You ever see the guitar that he played as his main... He had the Framus, semi-hollow. I guess that was kind of like Alex, Canadian guys playing semi-hollows. Because Alex used the Howard Roberts and 355, right? And he had the Framus. It was pretty cool, They had unique ways to get their tones. Yeah. They were a good band, man. Really good band. I'd love to talk to Rick sometime. He's not a guy I've ever spoken with or met or anything like that, but terrific guitar player, My niece said I've been on an AC/DC kick the last week. I've been on a big AC/DC kick because of what I was talking about last week, My buddy playing drums with him at Power Trip. We spoke on the phone this week, and I'll keep that conversation private, but it was so great to talk to him and hear all his stories and stuff like that. And it's just it's like, give me a break. Gonna go rock with the AC/DC. That is the coolest thing ever. Damn. AKG 240 says Preston Smith music. That's his choice in headphones. Those are classics. Kind of like the 7506 Sony or the Audio Technica. What's the one that I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's a few that you see in studios all the time. Used to be Fostex too. You used to see those around, but don't see those anymore. There's some bunch of super chats up there I gotta grab. Thank you guys for the super chats. Appreciate that. Keeps the coffee coming in. I can hear my fan blowing on my microphone right now. I got a new fan because it gets hot in here. It's like a little strong right now, so sorry about that for the wind noise. That's what the windscreen is supposed to be for on the SM7. Yeah, Jen was I loved your lesson on the 1, 2, 3, 4 exercise. I wonder what that was. Jen was asking about what to do on her new guitar series on Sunday mornings. And warm-ups, man, I still do the old, For me, it's all about getting the hands synced together, Or sometimes I'll go the first finger, the third finger, the second finger, the fourth finger. 1, 3, 2, 4. 1, 3, 2, 4. That's a good for your voice. See if you can hit the intervals. And it's the B flat and the C, B flat and C, and B and C sharp. God, I'm such an idiot. E flat, F, E, and F sharp. Sorry. Better have more coffee. Imagine how annoying I was for my sister as a kid. When you have an older sister and then you get a guy like me that shows up a few years later. It's just awful, I'm sure. Okay. Let's see. You guys are talking about your favorite AC/DC songs in the chat. That's cool. I listened to isolated tracks of Malcolm Young from some live AC/DC shows, and wow, he was the sound of that band. Truly. When you hear the guitars loud, and my friend Steve Holroyd, he worked on the Ballbreaker album, and he was a second engineer, and he had old DAT tape. Anybody remember those? With rehearsal recordings in the studio, and we used to listen to that. And oh my God, man, it sounded so cool because it was so raw, and the guitars were really loud in it. So you could hear Angus and Malcolm playing together and practicing these riffs, and it was just like this freight train coming at you of cool guitar, of like locked rhythm, you know, and it was so simple and powerful and cool, and it was just so cool. But yeah, so what else we got here? Asheville Guitar Guy, or Asheville Guy. See how I make things up in my head? That's what we do. This is the problem with humans recalling things, is that we make things up. Asheville Guy. Didn't even say guitar, but I think guitar. It's just all I think about. Been watching The Ringers, a band that features 3 guitarists. Mike Landau, so good. Wayne Krantz, so good. And Jimmy Herring, so good. Many live shows on YouTube. All instrumental and incredible improv between the 3. Yeah, there was 3 badass mofos. Hey, great recommendation to go watch that. And thank you for the super chat. You know me, I'm a big Mike fan. I saw Mike play with Wayne actually at the Potato once. That was cool. Really cool. What do you think will happen with gear if war breaks out with China? That's a bad vibe for the end of the show. I don't think war is going to break out with China. But if it ever does, the gear will be the least of our concerns. Bending in tune will be the least of our concerns. Kiox DC7 is the recommendation with 8 expander. I highly recommend. From Ori. That's a power supply. That's the one I have, I believe, here. I'm very happy with their power supplies. Been using it for years now. It seems really good. Really, really good. So, super stoked. Okay. Have you been born on a Thursday? On a Thursday? I don't know the day I was born, actually. I would have to go look. Never thought about that. I know that when I was born, my dad left the hospital and went to the golf course for lunch. And my mom went into labor and had me. I think that's what happened. But that doesn't make sense to me because I was a C-section baby. So that's a bit more planned. So I don't know about the story. If there's been, the story's gotten a little convoluted over the years. I don't know. It's impossible to figure out exactly what happened now. I wonder if my sister would remember. Chalks, says the designer. Really? I thought it was Kiox. Chalks. Well, Chalks. See, I have a problem with that because if there's ever a product made that's it's very difficult to pronounce, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot right out of the gate. You know, it should be something that I don't like pedals with weird names where I miss, you know, and people just might say I'm an idiot, and that's probably true, but it should be simple for somebody with, you know, obviously low IQ like myself to pronounce. But I love the power supply. It's great. So it's so good that it doesn't matter. The product, you know, it supersedes the difficult to say name that nobody can pronounce properly. Looking at a second delay and looking at the Nemesis or DD200. Is this Source Audio Nemesis? DD200 Boss, obviously. Both, I think I did videos for ages ago, so you can watch my video. I think I did a video for the Nemesis. I seem to remember doing that. It's hard to remember. But DD200, did I do a video? I think I did. It's, man, it's hard. This is hundreds of demo videos. It's hard to remember, but I know the product. DD200, I think I did. The DD stuff is great. The smaller ones, the 200 series, really like, easier to use than the 500 series, and most of the sounds all there and all that stuff. So, you know, really good. The Source, I can't remember right now if I did a video for it. Isn't the Nemesis the one that has the reverb built in too? Might be, right? It's one of the only pedals out there, I think, if it's the one I'm thinking of, that does delay and reverb in the same pedal and both sort of full-featured. Yeah. Yeah. If Triumph are like Rush, then Muse are like Radiohead, pretty much. Good. Yeah, I could back that. Yeah. That's, or maybe Coldplay are like Radiohead. And I mean that in the nicest way. I loved the first Coldplay record. You know? Really did. And then they lost me. First, second, and then... but, they're a great band. I mean, they're good band. I compared them to, once, their later works, to Khaki Pants from The Gap. And my friend John Fields did not like that. He was very upset with me for saying that. I said, sorry, dude. Convince me I'm wrong. But good, great, obviously. Great band, When Chris fellow, what's his last name? When he has breakup with Gwyneth Paltrow, he wrote, that was a good record then, that too. Breakup record was good, It was a little more, just something. All heart and soul. But anyways, I wore out some April Wine and Helix cassette tapes. Me too, man. I know the Gypsy Queen. Or ding, 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 ding. How's that song go? I probably got that totally wrong, but it was something like that. When is Pete Thorn going on tour, says Stealth Parrot? Very soon. Starting, the dates are on Nick Carter's website, but it's the first week of October are the first dates. We start, I believe, in Kentucky, then we're in Nashville, and then we're, southeast kind of, and it's a lot of, there's a few in Florida, South Carolina, I do believe, and some others. I always think of Y&T when I hear Triumph, but not the same band. Similar. Kind of, I could get that. Yeah, Y&T, Dave Meniketti, great guitar player. Great sound. Steve says, how does one enter the giveaway? It's a randomly selected email that I'm just going to pick. Only one email. I can see if you've sent more than one, and then you'll be disqualified. Don't disqualify yourself. Pete Pedal Giveaway, all lowercase, at yahoo.com. Send me an email. Okay. What else we got here? Let's see. How would you rate this pedal for the tone? It sounds like a raw Marshall that's got, it's a fair, I would say it's great at the more sort of raw Plexi, at least the way that I'm using it right now, the lower gain thing, To be fair, I'm running it direct right now because somebody asked about that earlier and they wanted to hear that. If I run it, I'm not sure if this will work right off the... No, because I put the amp on standby. Now it's in front of my... Oh, I got to turn off speaker simulation though, because I had a speaker simulator in line. Let's bypass that. Ooh, it's bright now and loud. Bright and loud. Brighter, right? Because I've got it set pretty bright. It sounded dark when I was running it direct. So let's turn down the treble a little bit. That's running it in front of my PT15 with the gain and the drive on about half. It sounds like quite kind of big grain distortion. You know what I mean? Big grain. Big grain. Like big grains of sand. There's Len, there, super chat. Sorry, guys. My screen disappeared. Len, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that. You guys are too kind. Bent Tom, super chat. Thank you very much. No question. I just hope everyone's taking care of their mental health and asking all friends and family members if they're okay. That's a nice sentiment. I agree. Mental health is paramount. I mean, health in general, and certainly mental. Right. Got to take it seriously. I try to. More aware of it than ever, to be honest. And the importance. So, Thank you for the super chat and those sentiments. Appreciate you saying fuzz demos, but there's a few things more boring than compressor demos. You hear how it's kind of more compressed now? That's true, Rich. That's a good point. Yeah, you hear how it's kind of more compressed? It's a tough thing to show because there is differences in compressors. I mean, the difference between something like the GC2 from Keeley and the Dynacomp is pretty big. You know, the lo-fi versus the kind of like more studio compression. But yeah, it's a little like, you know, it's a tough thing to get people excited about in a video. And yet it's so important, like, you know, the way that the tone sounds when it's properly compressed, and then when you add some effects and stuff, you can get a beautiful guitar sound, or you can have a very wimpy kind of clean sound that just doesn't translate. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, HP Harley says, taking off. I got to go. It's 2 o'clock. I should split, too. We've been going 2 hours and 5 minutes, but I'll just make sure I didn't miss any super chats here and stuff. There's one, Guitars for Your Project. Opinion on UA Max versus 1176. I never tried the Max, to be honest. I don't have that one. I'm sure the algorithms are probably similar, the compression, but they just wanted to go for a simple thing with the 1176, no extra apps or anything like that, and just really straightforward. So out of all the ones that I tried that day, the pedals that I tried, the new UE stuff, the 1176, you know, maybe perhaps contradicting what we just said about compressors, that was the one I was most sort of stoked about, you know. The other ones were all really cool too, but the 1176 sounded really great for boosting and for getting that hyper compressed, you know, Jimmy Pagey kind of things, or Lowell George and stuff like that. Yeah. So, and there's another super chat. Thank you guys so much for these, John. We'll buy some coffee around here. We're gonna have enough for coffee. Yay! We can keep going. I appreciate you guys. Have you or anyone here played a 339? You know, Yogi used to use one with, actually, the one of the fellas in the band, and he's actually the musical director for Nick Carter, actually has one of those, and he's using it, and I really like it. And I said, last time I saw somebody using one of those was my buddy Yogi with Chris Cornell, and he used to play it. Terrific sounding guitar, and they're really cool because they're like a small body 335, so you can get around them a little easier. They're probably a little less prone to feedback and stuff because it's just a little smaller, a little less air, open body to move the air, you know, kind of thing. So cool looking guitars. I would like one of those actually someday because they're just neat. But This is funny a perspective from My Knees Hurt. Amazing to me the violin can sound as well as it can, as good as it can, because the first person to play it probably didn't make it sound amazing. Yeah, we think about the evolution of musical instruments. It's kind of funny, like the evolution of the violin. It's like, what do I want to spend any time doing that for? I should be out hunter-gathering. It's totally true. Like, how did that evolve, right? It's incredible. It's incredible, I tell you. Super chat there. I can see it's from Peter. I think I'm going to grab that in a second. He's going to ask me what videos I'm going to do this week. And I'm not going to have a solid answer, I don't think. Although, maybe. I've got a new X Trident here, and I really have to finish a video for that before I go. A couple of the other ones, a pedal I can't talk about. Then there's the Bigsby pedal, which does Bigsby type stuff, which is really cool looking. There's this Hotlanta pedal. All those I got to do videos for. There's also a new Boss noise suppressor. That could be second to only the compressors as far as excitement level from. But I find things like noise suppressors quite exciting because it's cool to compress noise, or to squash noise, to eliminate noise, because it makes all your playing sound better. So anyways, but I am excited to try it. And, you know, it's funny because the EVH delay, I've probably brought this up before, but the EVH delay has this noise suppression circuit in it that's amazing if you hook it up, you know, the 4-cable way, that they kind of, one of the ways they designed it to be used. And it's like, I didn't get it. I was like, what? Why? It's a delay. I don't get it. And then I tried it and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So, you know, whoever's idea it was to put this killer noise suppressor in there, it works really well. So Boss has got the noise suppression game down. Yeah. Okay, so many comments here, great comments from you guys, and I'm sorry I can't check them all because I gotta go. But great Sunday show, and Peter, the videos this week. That's what you can look forward to. My new X Trident, I gotta get that done. The Bigsby, Hot Lana. I'm gonna try and get a bunch of these done before I go on tour, which means I'm gonna have to work, double duty doing, late nights after rehearsals and stuff. But that's okay. That's okay. We aim to please. We do. Is there a compressor that isn't noisy? That's really a bit of an oxymoron or whatever, because it's like when you're compressing things, you're raising quiet sounds louder. What's one of the quiet sounds? Hiss. So it's a part of what it does is it brings loud sounds down and quiet sounds up, and when you do that, you're raising the noise floor, and there's kind of no way around that. Compressor with a gate maybe built in, that could be a cool pedal. Hello, pedal manufacturers. A compressor with some sophisticated, maybe Boss, because now they got their new noise suppressor. Maybe they need to make a compressor with built-in noise suppression to intelligently lower the noise floor as you're not playing and stuff like that. Be a good product. Oh. The first person to milk an animal probably had some issues. Yeah, like who thought of that? And right? Maybe if I don't know, let's give this a try. Let's see. Yeah. I love this show. It's so much fun. All right, everybody, I'm going to go. On that note, we're going to leave that up on the screen. And everybody have a terrific week. Love you all. Thank you for everything that you do for me. You're all wonderful. We'll see you next Sunday. Take care.